The Hill-HarrisX has new data on what voters think is the biggest issues facing the country today. Let's take a look at that. The poll found almost half, 46%, of voters said the coronavirus is the biggest problem facing the country today, followed by immigration at 24%, the economy at 23%, and healthcare at 19%. Among Republican voters, immigration is the top issue at 41%, followed by COVID at 32%. Among Democrats, the pandemic is by far the top issue at 58%, and that's true as well for independents at 48%. Ryan, does any of that surprise you? Sounds about right to me. Obviously, immigration is an issue that really the right has been very passionate about. I think the base more passionate than the party realized for many years, and now that's kind of caught up.
Yeah, what's most interesting is immigration on the Dem side, 9%.
Yeah.
There's a humanitarian crisis going on at the border. Under the Trump administration, a crisis like that resulted in people getting yelled at in restaurants. Now they were actively trying to sharpen the crisis on the border,
right? Highlighting kids in cages, et cetera.
Well, the Trump administration was actively trying to make the crisis worse, and they were fine highlighting kids in cages. They thought it was a deterrent effect. Stephen Miller was public about that if you can be seen to be abusing people at the border, then that's actually humane, because then fewer people will make the rough trip to the border. That was their rationale. That's actually a violation of international law. You're not allowed to kind of punish an individual migrant in order to send them. You're not supposed to torture somebody to show that if you come here you'll be tortured. You can't do that. They were doing that, but the conditions are still horrific. And that Democrats now are in the single digits when it comes to concern over immigration is interesting, and suggests that we're at a place where there's not a whole lot of incentive for Democrats to do much about it, except complain when Republicans are in office.
Right. And you'd think, I guess the incentive, if you're not motivated by the just helping people incentive, right. Republicans.
I'm assuming that's not a motivation of politicians.
Let's just put that aside. The Republicans' ability to use this issue to their benefit, which I think they certainly are. We've talked a little bit about, will Dems get wiped out on the borders in Texas, for instance, things like that.
Right.
Not paying attention to, because it is a crisis, and it's something that really fires up the Republican base, and you have to do something about it.
And so then the question becomes, where are independents on the question? And
I don't have it in front of me. Where are they?
23%. So they're about half of Republicans, but twice Democrats. So they're actually it's a rare instance where they're actually right in the middle, because oftentimes they're heterodox and all over the place on that. But you also have to break that down, because if you cleave out independent-leaning Republicans who are effectively Republicans in everything except party identity, because that half of independents are either actually Republicans that just won't admit it, or actually Democrats that just won't admit it. And then you have this tiny band of people who are genuinely kind of
idiosyncratic.
Yeah, torn between the two, which is getting harder and harder to be. You find that 1 out of 4 of them are saying that immigration is the top issue.
Yeah, I'm also how concerned the pandemic being a top concern, a very large top concern of Democrats, less so for Republicans. But then you never know exactly what that means. I mean, the pandemic is probably my top concern in some ways. It's the thing affecting my life the most as someone who lives in the Northeast, with ongoing restrictions and people dying. But I'm not concerned. I don't think it's about to take a turn for the worst. I think the worst is probably behind us. So it's hard. I am concerned about it. I don't know that I'm more concerned about it than other things.
Well, people can be concerned about it writ large,
right?
Because of the impact it has on the economy and on their life, without actually saying, "Well, I'm nervous that I'm going to catch it at the grocery store." So if coronavirus goes away, then you have giant concerts again. People are traveling again. People don't have, and I think people hope that some of the toxicity would drain out of our public discourse. If it went away, I think they might be hoping against hope that would happen. But if you look at these tense school board arguments about just about masks, we haven't even gotten to the place where now DC and other places are talking about mandating vaccines for children. That's gonna make the mask arguments look mild. But at those school boards, we're seeing anger like we've never seen before. Like,
right.
You all are devil worshippers. And they were already organizing around that issue, but now it's kind of ratcheted up that much more. So I think all of that can fit within the coronavirus rubric when people are saying that that's the top concern.
Yeah, Scott Gottlieb over the weekend was on one of the Sunday morning shows, I think, and he was saying that he's concerned that you've actually turned, at some point you're turning the hostility to vaccine mandates on the part of Republicans is now so politicized, and so it becoming part of the almost Republican identity. He's worried about other mandates for vaccines that have never been controversial are now going to be controversial.
There is evidence of that. There's evidence of that happening already.
So that's an example of where there's a real harm. I mean, and I don't think we really need to mandate it necessarily for children. If you want to choose for your child to get it, that's absolutely fine. But children are at extremely low risk. Which is
different than like measles.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So
or smallpox.
If you don't really need to force kids to get it, and if you do that, you might make Republicans more hostile to existing vaccines they do need. I think actually might be a very tangible case of this vaccine mandate doing more, the COVID vaccine mandate doing more harm than good.
Yeah, and you can say like that it's not fair and that people should be more rational, but okay.
Right.
That's not who people are.
Right.
So you do have to deal with the people that reach people where they are.
Right.
And we definitely don't want an entire movement of people saying that, hey, I did my research on smallpox.
I mean, I was reading.
There is no smallpox, so I'm not going to take a smallpox. I'm not going to have my kid get a smallpox vaccine.
David Zweig I don't know if it was in the Atlantic or in New York or New York Magazine. He's written for two of those three places at least. But he was saying that he was crunching the numbers, and it's still the case that like unvaccinated 10-year-olds are safer from COVID than like fully vaccinated 65-year-olds. The risk profile, the age, it is so stark, the age difference.
Right. I mean, I went to Vermont, last school year, and I was just looking at their numbers recently. And yes, so you had, about half of the people who were dying were vaccinated, but were over the age of 65. And I don't remember seeing any children at 10 years old dying. Now, these are small numbers. We're talking dozens in Vermont. But it's still the case that if 10-year-olds were dying of this in the dozens, that it's all we would be hearing.
I found it. That was David Wallace Wells in New York Magazine. Someone, in addition to David Zweig, I appreciate both of their writing on the subject a lot.
Yeah. So his climate change stuff is great too.
Yeah, there you go.
But thanks for watching What America's Thinking, and we will see you next time.